Doctors, if you want to build significant cash flow and financial freedom outside of medicine while paying less in taxes, then you don't want to miss the in person Physician Freedom Summit this October, where 5-minute conversations could lead you to your next mentor, partner, or increase your net worth by millions. I'm Param. I'm a radiologist, a mom, a real estate investor, and founder of GW Capital and Generational Wealth MD, a growing community of over 20,000 physicians whom I have helped acquire over $300 million worth of real estate. But just like you, for over a decade, I was trudging along the traditional W-2 path, overworked, struggling to balance work and life. Looking back, many of these speakers shaped my journey, and at the Physician Freedom Summit, you will be in the room having face-to-face conversations with these short-term rental gurus who've replaced their clinical earnings through their real estate while slashing their tax bill by hundreds of thousands of dollars, creative financing, and alternative investment experts who became financially free in their 30s and 40s and together manage over $1 billion in assets. And you will get insider access to the wealth building strategies that they're pivoting to in this market cycle, while others sit on the sidelines missing out on this once in a lifetime opportunity to build generational wealth. I'm super excited about seeing all of you in person in beautiful California. I know this is going to change your life. I will see you there. Don't forget to sign up at generationalwealthmd.com/summit. Hey everyone, I am super excited. Today I have with me my good friend, Dr. Cory Fawcett. He is founder of Financial Success MD. He's an Amazon best-selling author, a speaker, a coach, and as a full-time general surgeon, Dr. Fawcett he owned and he self-managed 64 units on less than 4 hours a week. He then transitioned to to a point, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, where he started traveling the world with his wife. He still owned all of those properties. I'm super excited because this is what Dr. Fawcett is passionate about. He's going to be talking to us today about how busy physicians can replace clinical income, regain control of their time, even when they own, multifamily real estate, and how you can do it in any market cycle with no money down. Welcome to Generational Wealth MD's podcast on financial freedom through investing in real estate. My name is Param. I'm a mom, radiologist, real estate investor, and mentor to others looking to start or scale their real estate portfolios. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with inspiration, strategies, and insight so that you can stop trading your time for money and live life on your terms. If you love the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. I'm super excited to have you here, Cory. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, it's fun to be here. I love talking with you.
Well, Dr. Cory Fawcett is also going to be joining us, guys, at the Physician Freedom Summit, which is October 6th through 8th in California. We have so many physicians, an amazing panel of physicians who manage over $1 billion in assets. They're sharing wealth and tax strategies. So if you haven't signed up, go to generationalwealthmd.com/summit, lowercase, sign up. Dr. Foss is going to be talking about no money down multifamily investing. There are a lot of barriers to real estate investing, and the capital and the amount of capital required is one of those barriers. And so that is, I'm super excited for his talk at the summit. That's for the summit. We're going to deep dive into a lot of core concepts here today. Cory, before we get started, if you could share with everyone what your journey into real estate has been like, right? Just give us a broad overview of how you got started, and then I'm really excited to talk about some really key points that I think this is something everybody grapples with, and I'm excited to deep dive. But let's start with your journey, right? What got you started in real estate investing as a surgeon?
So I have to go clear back to when I was a little kid for my real estate endeavor, because I was the oldest grandson of a couple of real estate investors. And my grandparents, my grandmother, she worked as a stay-home mom, and my grandfather worked in the local plywood mill. And they would save up a little money, and then they'd buy a house for a rental. And then they'd save up a little money and they'd buy another one, and then save up and buy another one. And I saw that, and I was the oldest grandson, so I came along and helped them. So I got exposed to the life of owning your own investment real estate through them. And from that, I always said to myself, I'm going to do that someday. you know? And so I didn't know when I was going to start that, but someday I wanted to follow in their footsteps. My grandfather died when I was a teenager. And the interesting thing was, Grandma didn't have to go get a job. Even though her only breadwinner was gone, she had the money coming in from her real estate to take care of her for the rest of her life. And that's what I wanted. So fast forward then, now I'm a practicing general surgeon, and my wife and I got on a kick of becoming debt free, and that's one of my books is that journey on becoming debt free. And as we approached the final payment to where we would, you know, all that debt's gone. Now we're going to have all that money that we used to pay debt on. What are we going to do with it? We're not just going to start spending it. What are we going to do? We haven't been using it. We've been living a nice life. And I decided now's the time for me to start investing in real estate. And the way we ended up doing it is I bought most of my properties with no money down, cash back at closing. And then we used that money that used to go to our personal debts to pay down and accelerate paying off our real estate debt as well. So we became personally debt free. And then as we began buying real estate, we worked to pay those off because the more we paid them off, the more cash flow came in. If it's not going to the mortgage, that means it's going to my bank and I can spend it. And so as we started doing that, we ended up owning 64 doors, and I managed it as a general surgeon. And I managed it the way I ran my office. I mean, people who say, "Oh yeah, that managing property, that's like a full-time job. I can't do that when I'm a surgeon." I say, "Well, no, it's not. It's a part-time job. In fact, it's almost not a job at all, because you have people to do that stuff. And if you looked at your own office, who answers the phone? Do you do that? Well, no. Well, do you talk to insurance companies and get all the pre-authorization? No, you don't do that either, huh? Do you take their blood pressure? Oh, no, you don't do that either. Well, do you schedule the surgeries? No, you don't do that either. Well, what do you do? What's the point of you being there? You don't do nothing, right? Well, that's because you got all these people who do this stuff. If you had to do everything at your office, you couldn't make a living. And yet, we know that system. And then we buy a piece of property and we think we have to do everything. And if you did have to do everything, that does take some time. But you can hire people to do this stuff just like you do in your office. And if you treat a real estate investment just like you treat your office, it takes very little time for you to run it. And you can do the part that's important. And so we did that for about 12 years, managed it ourselves. And then I retired from medicine because my real estate was now making more money than we needed. Plus, I had all my retirement accounts. And we decided we're going to travel the world. And when that happened, I decided I didn't want to be managing these anymore because I didn't want to be on a cruise ship off the coast of Brazil when something happened and I needed to go look at it or something,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't want that. So I turned everything over to a property management company and I've never taken those things back. They manage it for the last decade or so. They take care of everything and I just cash the checks and play however I want to play, wherever and whenever I want to do that. And that's how my real estate journey transpired.
That's just beautiful, Cory. And I feel like for a lot of people who say, hey, I don't have the money to invest, or hey, I don't think I have the time to do this. I don't want to be dealing with the four T's like toilets, tenants, trash, termites. This is, how you talk about it, and you broke it down beautifully. You run it like a business where you have systems in place and you delegate it to people, and you're not the person taking care of those things. You never need to be, right? And I feel like that's one of the myths that the stories that people keep
Yeah.
saying, and it just limits you from building a life with possibilities because, something else that you talked about was how
grandparents, and how you have been able to use real estate really as a vehicle to replace income, and that gives you options, right? That gave you the ability to at some point scale back in medicine when it was the right time for you to travel the world with your wife, and that income becomes so important, or whether that freedom is so important. And I know you also have a book about this, right, Cory, where you talk about the systems that you can put in place so that you can free up your time with a real estate portfolio.
It's called The Doctor's Guide to Real Estate Investing for Busy Professionals, and it's my blue book. They all have a different color like this. They have the same kind of cover, and each one of the topics is a different color and a title on the prescription pad there. But the cool thing is you already know how to have systems. I mean, if you have an office, you have to have systems. So for example, when I saw somebody and they needed a colonoscopy, I just had to write colonoscopy on their pay slip, on their routing slip, hand it to somebody, and go see the next patient. And a whole system goes into play at that point that takes care of everything needed to get that person set up, scheduled, and ready for a colonoscopy. And the next time I see that person is at the colonoscopy suite with everything all taken care of. I didn't have to do anything. I just wrote colonoscopy, and the system does its job.
That's beautiful. And you've talked about two different ways of managing it, because you talked about when you were self-managing those properties and it still took you less than 4 hours a week to manage those 64 units. And you talked about when you started traveling, you transitioned to a property manager. And again, you're talking about different ways where you can free up your time and still own real estate and tap into the beauty of the income and the freedom that gives you.
Some people never like the step of managing it themselves. But for me, I think doctors really need a hobby outside of medicine that takes their mind off what they're doing. And for me, doing some of the things in my real estate business was that hobby, that release. It was something different that I could go do that wasn't medicine. And it kept me, it kept me fresher in medicine. If you don't have any hobbies and all you do is medicine, that's not going to turn out well. You're just asking to burn out. You got to have other outlets.
Exactly. I mean, it's an outlet for expressing yourself differently. It's an outlet for growth. And I think there comes a point where all of us, if you're stagnant, you hit a point where you need another outlet. You're absolutely right, Cory. And like you said, it different strokes for different folks. It's not a one size fits all. Some people start off with, for me, with my long-term rental portfolio, I started off with property management, right? And so and I've always kept it that way. And like you, I still travel quite a bit, and I'm able to do it because I've delegated that. And for some of our members in our community, they still want to self-manage, and they do that, and they still travel like you did, and so you pick what makes sense for you, and that's an important piece of the puzzle, right? Because one of the biggest barriers is, hey, I don't think I have the time to do this along with medicine, or both of us, me and my spouse both work full-time. How are we going to do this? And so this is just opening up people's perspectives to what's possible. But I think what's amazing about your story also, Cory, is that one of those large acquisitions, the apartments you acquired right before the 07-08 real estate market crash. And that's another thing where people are always saying, hey, how do I make sure I'm going to do it, but I'll do it when we're at the bottom of the cycle, right? And that's always a tricky thing. And what I love about your story is that you've done it at a time where, what most people would typically say, well, oh, that was the worst time to have bought that apartment, but you did it and you thrived. And so if you can share a little bit about your experience and in hindsight looking at it and how you view it, right, when you think about acquisitions and timing.
If you're interested in learning how to invest in long-term and short-term rentals the right way, so you can accelerate to financial independence with the support of mentorship, community, and vetted investor agents in strong markets across the country, then get on the waitlist for the next cohort of Creating Generational Freedom at generationalwealthmd.com/waitlist in lowercase. You don't have to learn from decades of costly mistakes by yourself. The program is only open for enrollment in the spring and fall each year. In the last 6 months alone, our members have acquired over $60 million of real estate, and more importantly, they're living life and practicing medicine on their terms. You don't have to do it alone.
Well, the interesting thing is the last one that I bought was in a partnership with some people, and we were we were riding this incredible growth that real estate was happening right then, and we think, hey, let's just take advantage of that. So we were only going to own it for 5 years and then sell
Yeah,
it with all the profit, right?
yeah, yeah,
And we bought that just a couple of months before the whole thing crashed. And so 5 years later, we were underwater, so we didn't sell it as planned.
yeah,
Our real plan was we would hold this, sell it for a great profit, and so all we
yeah,
had to do was change the time frame. At 5 years, selling it was a bad idea. We just held on to it until that recovered and the price went back up, and now we could sell it at a great profit. And we still made a great profit, even buying at what people would say is the worst time. But the key is there is no bad time to buy good real estate. Okay. And good real estate is real estate that cash flows and puts money in your pocket. Even if the real estate cash flows and puts money in your pocket, it totally has nothing to do now with what the market looks like or what the market does, because it will continue to do that. So when the whole market crashed, the value of that piece of property went down um, below what we actually owed on it, right?
yes,
But the cash flow didn't change. And so it's still making us money. If we had never looked at the newspapers and never knew that there was a market crash, we would have not noticed.
yes,
It was
yeah,
making money and it just went right on doing that. The money, the people that worry about the market are thinking short term. Like, if we said we have to sell it in 5 years, and that's our plan, a short-term plan,
yeah,
then we would have not done well
yeah,
because the market crash happened during that 5 years and
yeah,
hadn't recovered yet. And so we would have lost because we were betting on a short-term deal.
yeah,
But if you bet on a long-term plan and your plan is safe, has positive cash flow, and you're going to do this for a long time, now the market becomes irrelevant
yeah,
because you know it's going to go up and it's going to go down. And it's going to go
yeah,
up and it's going to go down. But since you're not selling, you're taking cash flow, that totally irrelevant. You just let that happen and ignore it.
yeah,
And the funny thing is that was the final one that we bought because my wife had said, I was out looking for another one, right? And she said, and I found this really cool. Oh, this is a great buy right here. And she said, what are you doing? I said, I got another one. She says, why?
yeah,
We set out to do this real estate, and our goal was to have enough money coming in to replace your income, to
yeah,
pay all of our expenses, to live off real estate, right? We
yeah,
have that now. So why are you shopping for another one?
yeah,
And, she was right. Why am I doing this? Why am I taking any time at all to get more money that we don't need? Okay.
yeah,
And so I never bought another one after that. But then the whole thing tanked. And it's like I was so itching to buy another one because now everything is 10 cents on the dollar. There's these
yes,
great deals out there. But even though there was great deals, now was a great buying opportunity. Even though there was great deals, we already had met our goal. We already had what we needed.
yeah,
We didn't even need to buy, even though we could buy at a bargain. Just because
yeah,
it's on sale doesn't mean you need to buy it. You
yeah,
should be buying it because it fits into your plan. And
yeah,
it doesn't matter what the market's doing. If you try and wait for the bottom of the market, you will never buy.
yeah,
I told a story in my book, my real estate book. Imagine you're my grandmother way back when I was a kid, early 70s, and you're talking to your friend about buying this house for $25,000. But they want 30 for it.
mhm,
And you want to buy it for 25, but they want 30. And so you hem and haw, and you just don't buy it because it's too expensive. So you don't buy it, right? Even though it would have cash flowed, but it was higher than you wanted to pay. So you won't buy it.
yeah,
And so then you don't do that. But fast forward now 40 years, and that same property is worth $800,000. would it have mattered if you bought it at 25 or at 30? That purchase, it was totally irrelevant. You were arguing about
Yes.
something that didn't matter because she did hold it for the rest of her life when she bought a
Yeah.
piece of property. And
Yeah.
if you're worried about the current market, you'll never buy anything. She wouldn't have bought the plane if she was worried about it. But if you just went ahead and paid 30 for it and it's still going to cash flow and you're going to hold it for a long time, pretty soon it's going to be worth so much money that that
Yeah.
difference in purchase price was totally irrelevant.
My God.
So
And that's
don't worry about the timing.
such a valid point over there, Cory. Those are like pearls that you're dropping. And I hear people even now, people who say we're at the top of the cycle, right? Because real estate, the stock market, they're all inflation correlated to some extent. And so sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm at the top of the cycle. Oh, it's too expensive. I'm going to wait for the market to drop and values to drop. But the thing is, as long as you have cash flow, which is what you said, right? That's the thing that you're looking at. That's the metric you're looking at. Then you have the ability to hold, and you have a long, a sighted view of things. And the other thing that you mentioned was even though the market had crashed, your cash flow fluctuates a little bit, but it doesn't tank like 30% like the real estate market did at that point. So you still had significant cash flow coming in. That hadn't changed. You were still meeting your goals, which is why your wife was like, we have enough, right? So
We
even
have
after it
enough.
crashed, it's not like your cash flow dropped 30%. That was just the asset values did, and then they bounced back up. But your cash flow is pretty steady, which are such valid points for anyone thinking about acquiring.
And you know
And
it's going to drop at some point.
yeah,
But if you're not selling, who cares?
yeah.
I don't
All you
even
need is
look at
the
the markets anymore, you know? And
exactly.
I didn't look at them then. I never looked at the markets when I was buying stock mutual funds.
Yeah,
I just bought because I had some money and it's time to make another purchase. Excuse me. And so I just bought. It didn't matter if the market was up or down.
yeah,
What matters is that you keep putting stocks in your pocket.
exactly.
And 30 years from now, they're worth a lot of money.
Exactly. And that the long-sighted view is so important as long as you have the ability to hold and you have an asset that's cash flowing, which is why I think we talked about this right before we started. You say, as long as it's the right asset, it's always a good time to buy. And the wrong asset, it's never a good time to buy.
That's a good
Um,
point. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and you're going to be talking about how people can invest with no money down, and you've spoken at our events before, I think, and you bring such a fresh perspective to it. It opens people's eyes to the concepts of seller financing, how you can get creative with financing. You actually even mentioned you got cash back at closing. I can't wait for you to unpack all of this during the summit. I will be deep diving into all of this. You've shattered so many myths here today, Cory. You talked about, how, people think I don't have the time for this. This is actually buying back your time, and you can do it in a way that's very time efficient. You talked about timing the market where you don't really have to stress so much about figuring out is this the best time to buy. You know how to evaluate if you have a deal that's cash flowing and it's a good deal that you have the ability to hold, then there's never a bad time to buy it. And we're going to talk about capital as, that's another big limiting belief. We're going to shatter that myth at the summit. But for everyone listening, Dr. Cory Fawcett is amazing. I would love for all of you to join us at the summit. If you haven't signed up yet, go to generationalwealthmd.com/summit. And we're going to again, he's going to deep dive into the actual numbers and how it's possible for someone to go in with very little capital and acquire. And he's talking about multifamily apartments. We're going to talk about creative financing strategies across the board. So I'm super excited for those of you who want to join. Cory, how can people get in touch with you? I think we could go on and on and
Well,
on
well,
about.
here's my website right over my shoulder here,
Yes, perfect.
financialsuccessmd.com. You can go there. You can send me a message there if you want to talk to me. I'm one of the things I love about being at these conferences is not getting to talk like on stage and telling a story. That's 1 hour of the conference. The rest of the
Yes.
time, the part I really like is the people that meet me in the hallway and say, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And it's those moments that really make being there different than just looking at the lecture. Because when I give a
Yes.
lecture, I might not answer the question you had in the back of your mind. But
Yeah.
if you catch me in the hall, we can talk about that that's on your mind. And so it's it's so nice to be there in person. That's the most fun part of the whole thing, is to meet the people and just chat about what it is they're struggling with and how I can help them get over that.
You're absolutely right. It's so different attending, a lecture versus actually being there in person, having conversations with the speakers, other attendees, finding partners. And sometimes I say I go to these conferences. Sometimes I'm up till 2 at night chatting with people. The after parties go on forever, and that's where you're making these connections. And 5-minute conversations can completely shift the way you think about things. Super excited to see you in October, Cory. Thank you so much for doing this.
Well, you're welcome, and I am excited to come there and talk to all of you guys who are coming. So be sure to be there. Cory S. Fawcett, the Financial Success MD. And I'm going to be talking at Param's Generational Wealth MD conference about real estate. How I did it as a full-time general surgeon. I did it with no money down. I managed the things myself while I was a full-time general surgeon and learned how to put systems in place such that I could manage 64 rental units with just a few hours a week and fit that right into working around my general surgery practice. You can do that too. There was nothing I did that was special. No money down deals aren't special things. It's just something that if no one showed you how to do it, you won't be able to. But just learning a few secrets, and you can make real estate work for you the way you want it to work for you, when you want it to work for you, and how you want it to work for you. And you can be free to travel the world like me and Param as much as you like. And I hope to see you there.